My parents couldn't spell, and they stuck that L in there by accident, I think. It's great to be back and see you all, and I came here around 1990, I think, and met Joe Bright, and Karen Robinson, I was going to call her Johnson, was Joe's secretary at the time, and we were AIM compatriots in Sydney, Australia back in the 1980, 81, and so I remember being here many, many years ago, so it's a joy to get to be here with the people here at Sunset. And I've always heard about Sunset and the great ministry that you guys have done for so long in planting churches, and it's just a joy to, to glean some from you all. Greetings from Montana, greetings from Yellowstone Bible Camp. I see Ethel over there. I was going to say, where's Ethel? And then I looked, and there she was. Now, granted, Vicki showed me a picture to remind me. But there's a lot of people that come to Yellowstone Bible Camp. I'm the treasurer for the camp. I've been on the board for about 20 years. And how many people here have been to Yellowstone Bible Camp? I know there'd be a few. Yeah, that's awesome. So feel free to come on up there to Montana and enjoy Yellowstone Bible Camp. Family camps. You don't have to just go to the Golden Age camp. People say to me, I'm 61 currently. Are you going to go to Yellowstone Bible? Are you going to go to Golden Age camp? And I'm like, well, I don't think I'm old enough yet. You can come at 50, I think. But I think the average age is 72, isn't it? At least, or 75, so I'm not old enough yet. But I get to manage the middle school camp that we have and attend one of the other family camps, and I only live 35 minutes from the camp in Livingston, so it's been a great joy to be a part of that ministry. Orphan's Lifeline started when I was preaching in Montana around 2000, and so right away they came to the churches in Montana and asked us to help them in this ministry. The preacher and some of the members had gone to Eastern Russia, Siberia area, and had been doing some mission work there, and they visited orphans' homes, and they ended up adopting some children. And because of that, they ended up starting this ministry 20 years ago. I've got a brochure and a calendar here. I wanted to make a point. There's some on the back table back there. This is a 2023 calendar, but you still have a few months left to see kids' pictures. Every page has one of the kids' pictures, and so it's really awesome. But it's a really great ministry that they started. They came to Livingston when I was preaching there, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I want to help with this. I have been to Family Christian Bookstore so many times in Bozeman just over the pass, and every time I checked out, they asked me if I wanted to help a child, and I would say no, and the World Vision kids that they were encouraging people to sponsor, and I walked out feeling guilty. And so when something in our brotherhood started doing something on this scale, I was thrilled. And it's hard for me to believe that last year, I think it was around $2.3 million came from Churches of Christ, Christians here in America through Kalispell, Montana to care for these kids. It's phenomenal, and it may sound like, I remember the president telling me years ago, he said, don't tell everybody how much money we have. I said, David, people want to get on a successful bandwagon, and God is blessing this ministry. We don't need 2 million, we need 10 million. I mean, honestly, there's so many orphans in the world that we could care for. And so every dollar that we can get is caring for children, and now we've stretched out into doing widows as well, and their children has been a blessing. And so let's see if we're going to fly here. Yep, I'm going to skip this slide. I'm going to kind of just go through quickly. I have some scripture verses up there you can read. And, God's calling on us to be compassionate. I just want to say that. Micah 6:8, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly? We often get caught up in following all the rules, and we forget about what God really wants. He wants our heart. He wants our character. He wants us to love people. And so that needs to be our major as God's people, as Christians. Our major thoughts need to be about how we can bless people. And just looking in the Old Testament, and you see the prophets and all that they share about God's people failing to care for his people, the failures that were experienced. And it's some of the very reasons that God was rebuking the people was their failure to care for the widows and orphans. And so it's a vital part of things that we should be doing. And we're doing that here in America for sure. You're caring for widows, you're caring for children right here in Springfield. I know you are. But there are just hundreds of millions of children around the world that don't have, we can't compare. We just can't compare what they have to what we have. And so these are pictures that I showed you last year that remind us of what's going on around the world. They visited an orphan home. They said, what's with this little fella? They said he's set aside to die because we don't have any medicine. I'll show you his picture later. And so, they just saw these pictures and thought, we've got to do something. And they started adopting children. They started helping people adopt children. And they started raising funds to care for children in their countries. And so as you go around the world, you just keep seeing these pictures. Those little girls are at our home in Haiti, Faton's home in Haiti. He's an evangelist in Haiti. He's caring for a dozen children because he had a heart to care for children. And Widnadine is the little girl in the middle. And my wife and I sponsor her, and we'll see a picture of her later. We are, as David said, we're in 9 countries, counting Russia, but we have 21 homes in 8 countries outside of Russia. Our ministry started in Russia, far eastern Russia, Siberia, which is like third world conditions. And there in Khabarovsk and Barnaul, we have Christians that are taking things to those homes. And so they go out and deliver sports equipment or school equipment. Everybody gets a Bible, things like that. But we don't have any control or management. Those are Russian homes that they went through all kinds of hoops to make sure that we could keep sending money to Russia when we could no longer send money to Russia, if you recall. Russia was cut off in receiving U.S. funds. And so we're still getting funds to those homes. And so that's about a quarter of our ministry. That money is because that's where they started. But since that time, we have these 21 homes that we're caring for over 850 children in these homes that God has blessed us with. There's so many orphans because of war, disease, tap water, the meat markets where the toilet paper is over there on the right-hand side. That they're obviously using for Kleenexes, I guess. And outhouses like this, conditions that we would, how many of you have used an outhouse? I have you betcha. Some of us used outhouses, yeah. We still use them in Montana, just not in town, mind you, but up in the mountains. Alcohol, drugs. I never thought that you would have an alcohol and drug problem in a third world country where you can't get anything. They can get alcohol and drugs. And so because of those conditions, there are children that might have living parents that can't care for them. And so you can imagine being all alone, and you can see it in their eyes. They're lost. They don't have any love or care, and it doesn't have to be this way. We can change their situation. And so a picture like this that shows a young fellow that came to the home, and look at the fear in his eyes, because he has no idea what he's going to get there. And to see him after a few years living there is just a joy. And there's Widnadine from when she was 21 in 2012 until 2021. And it's just awesome. We sponsor her, so every 6 months we get a new picture of her from Orphan's Lifeline. Sends us a new picture of Widnadine on a poster. And it's really, really awesome to see her grow and develop in her life. And we're just out bringing awareness so that we can develop compassion for these children and people that God has around the world. And so Orphan's Lifeline is trying to care for their everyday needs, as you can see, provide a private education, and show God's love and teach them about Jesus. Number 3 is really number 1, but we've got to feed them and educate them so they can read the Bible, so they can become Christians. And so that's how it works. And we have all of our children, every one of our children are in private education in their third world countries so that they can move up into higher education, some kind of college program, some kind of tech program. And so feeding them feeding them like they would be fed in a third world country. Some people have mentioned to the office, well, how come you don't have tables and chairs for these kids? They're sitting on the ground when I see pictures. That's how they eat in Kenya, you know. And so it's Kenyans taking care of them. They're growing up in their culture. There are no Americans on site at our homes. They're all run by local Christians caring for these children who had a compassion to care for children. Orphans Lifeline never started an orphan home. We have come alongside of Christians that are in need of help to be able to feed and get water and care for these kids. And we will do whatever it takes to make sure these kids are growing and thriving and getting medicine. And providing a private education is so vital in a third world country. And I've had a number of people tell me that have been different. I've had a lady from Guyana in South America say, yeah, I grew up in a third world country. You will not get enough education from the public system in a third world country. You've got to be in a private school if you're going to really thrive in your education and be a blessing in that community or in that country. And that's what we want for these kids. Somebody said to me, well, why don't we bring them all to America? Literally, I said, is there any questions? I was somewhere, anybody have a question? And somebody said, well, why don't we just bring them all to America? I said, well, number one, you can't. And number two, I want them in their country so they can bless their country as educated Christian people. And so I think it's an awesome design. And so to see them studying all around the world is such a blessing. Being educated and going to college programs, we have, I think, about 17 kids right now in college programs that we're funding and paying for their programs so that they can be a huge blessing to their country. And so a lot of the homes most of the homes have some kind of agriculture going on to help feed themselves. Ron Popberg is a World Bible School vice president, and he helped us get connected to Safe Home in Liberia. And he's over there every year trying to drum up a new idea for them to be self-sustaining. And one year he got them to dig. They had a year-round spring, so we got them to dig rice paddies, and they had rice for the kids, you know. And so a couple years later, he said, let's dig them deeper and raise fish. So the kids and workers at that place dug these ponds by hand so they could raise fish, and they get protein. Who thought protein was so hard to come by? Most children in third world countries do not get protein every day. You know, it might be every few days they might scavenge up some protein. And it's just proven fact. You know, some of you guys have really big muscles, but this one right here between the ears, that one needs protein too. And so you just don't do well when you don't get protein. And so we make sure we know exactly what these children are eating. We have phenomenal reports from these homes on what's going on. And so these are a couple kids that grew up at Safe Home that are going to college right now. And so it's just a blessing to see that and to see them studying God's Word. The average is, I personally, as a 30-year evangelist in Churches of Christ, I wanted to know how much these kids are studying the Bible. And so they told me, oh, a lot. I said, no, I don't want to hear a lot. I want to know how much. And so they emailed all the managers and said, you need to send us an average, 3 hours a day. They're in their Bible class, they're in a devotional, they're reading their Bible. And would America be a different place if our children were studying their Bible or in some kind of devotional 3 hours a day, right? And so all the kids get a signed Bible, and if we adopt children, they get a Bible that, if we sponsor children, they get a Bible, like Shelton Church of Christ sponsored 2 children, and so that's the Bible that the kids got. The nice thing about Liberia, what language do they speak? English. So it's easy to work in Liberia. But many of the countries, of course, have to be translated, of course. That's one of the very few that speak English. But here's the Church of Christ that the kids there at Safe Home go to, and to see these kids being baptized into Jesus Christ all around the world is a joy. To know that we are, and you guys are, helping that happen. So thank you so much to this church for helping fund this ministry. And it's not, I'm not just saying it. These kids are giving thanks all the time for American Christians. And when we get our monthly, every 6 month report and a new picture of Widnadine, she always writes on there. She doesn't write on there, but she writes a note and they put it on there. And she always says, I thank God and I love you. She doesn't know who I am, but she loves me because she knows we're funding her to be able to live and eat and have a blessed life from God. Here at Safe Home in Liberia this year, we're building a new tech school. It's our president and one of the originators of Orphan's Lifeline died last year of cancer, and so it's going to be the David Board Vocational School at Safe Home. And so that's been going up this year that we've been paying for. And it's really interesting to see them build in these countries. And they usually make their own cement blocks. I've had pictures of that I've shown. And it's just remarkable what they can do with much less technology than we have. I wanted to put these words in there. Hello, all is well here. We started our computer classes for our staff today. Also, we are happy to have provided 2 students from a very poor community uniforms. And so at Safe Home, they have a school on the property there. And so they have teachers that they fund. And we fund those teachers, we fund that ministry. And so they're taking computer classes. I'm 61, and I remember needing computer classes because somebody invented this thing called a computer. I didn't grow up with a computer, but I had to learn how to use it. And isn't it amazing? These guys in Liberia are getting computers to help teach their students. And so those are some pictures of that. And the school, not only is it for the kids on campus there, it's also they allow some of the kids from the community to come to the school. And so they said that they bought the uniforms for these kids so that they could come to the school. So these are kids from the community there that they are allowing to come and that they're teaching. And so we're blessing beyond just what's there at Safe Home. This note I put in because at Peter's Memorial is a girls' home in India, and so a couple pictures there. But this is a note from Sarada that is the manager there. And you can see I underlined Brother Das, and he's at the Arabellum home in India. He manages that home, but he's also our child care coordinator in India. So he goes and visits all the homes in India. There's 6 homes in India. So they're always inspected. And we get reports all the time from the people that are checking the homes and making sure that everything is being done exactly how it should be done. Fraud in child care in third world countries is unbelievable. And you can imagine from, say, the reports that we are gleaning now more and more about trafficking of children, and it's horrendous. I say the underbelly of society is darker than we can imagine. The darkness of Satan is just something that's just unbelievable. And so I also really like that note. The Church of Christ in Badavapet salutes you. I thought that was really cool, so I posted that up there. And this is some of the girls there at that home. And I need to say, on Facebook, you can look up the Orphan's Lifeline page. It's a general page, and there's a new picture every single day. And with that many kids and that many homes, on that page, they don't get, posted as, You don't say, oh, well, where's my child that I get my picture of Widnadine? I haven't seen her on the page. Well, there's 850 kids, you know. And so, but if you actually sponsor a child, there's a Facebook page for that, that home as well that you can have access to. And so I have access to all of the pages, which is a blessing to see all the things that are going on. I found this really special. This girl grew up there at Peter's Memorial. Her mom was the cook, you can see, and she went to university. Her husband's a lawyer, and she just had that baby, and that was one of the reports that Sarah sent just this summer. And I just was thrilled to see that, to see what's happening with these children, that we're helping this happen. This would not be happening except for Orphan's Lifeline. And so what a blessing to the Christian community in India. You know, of course, what's the population of India? It's over 1 billion, isn't it? I mean, but we are making an impact. You are making an impact by helping fund this ministry and things like that to happen. Hope Family Home is in Haiti. Fatan is the fellow on the left he was an evangelist there, trained in the Haitian Bible School. And he decided he had to do something for some of these kids, and he has 12 kids that he is raising, and by the grace of God, he got connected with Orphan's Lifeline, and we're funding those children. And so Widnadine is the one back in the back with the afro, and I've never seen her with an afro in any of the pictures that I've had of her. So I was looking at that picture, and I thought, where is she? She's not in this picture. And you know, if you just look at the face, I was like, that's her back there with the afro. But they recently, they have earthquakes, and they had an earthquake that their gate was broken, and so that we funded and sent money for him to get the gate rebuilt. And so things like this are happening all the time, that we're able to take care of the home. Haiti is, you know, you might say just a slightly insecure country. It's dangerous, and so you have to protect your places, especially where all these children are. And so that's Widnadine, the front right. And so the other picture, obviously her hair was out, but she was a little baby, you know, and I think she's at least 12 now. And so I've never met her, I've never been there. You know, I would say 8 years ago I didn't care if I met her. But after 8 years of seeing her picture twice a year, I'd kind of like to meet her, you know. And so I'm just thrilled that Fatan is there caring for these. His last report, he said, somebody dropped this little boy off, and he said they brought him to me. They dropped him off out in the center of town, the city square or something. And so the authorities brought him to Fatan. Oh, this guy takes care of kids. Here you go, have this baby. So he was writing and asking, could you fund another child for me? Well, we're funding another child for Fatan. And so most of his kids are older now, but he's got a younger child now. So this is also really impressive. This young fella grew up at CCIM home in India, and you can see there, he's at the home since 2005, completed his studies in 2015, and he is working on getting his Master's of Science, it says, and we're paying it. We sent the $420. Isn't that? We sent $420, 33,000 rupees to take care of his tuition at that university. And so you're helping provide that. These are some of the kids at CCIM home in India right now that are there at the home. And it's just a blessing to see them. Some of them, there's a nurse that's graduated from there, and these are some, I think I showed this picture last year as well, some of the kids that have grown up at that home. And some of the homes in India understand their parents would not be able, many of them have parents, but their parents really can't afford to take care of them, and they certainly can't get them an education. So there's a number of homes like this in India where Churches of Christ, and not just Orphan's Lifeline, are providing these necessities so that these kids can get well taken care of and get educated and be a blessing to the Christian Indian community. And so they say, not all children are true orphans, but they are orphans because their parents cannot take care of them, and they're all but parentless. But many of these kids in India I know have parents, but they just wouldn't be able to feed them. And so Acts of Charity, we started helping 2 years ago to care for these widows in Nairobi, outside of Nairobi, Kenya. And Harrison was an evangelist there again, one of our evangelists, a local Kenyan. It's so cool, He's over there reaching out, trying to teach people the lost, and he's like, there's so many widows here, I've got to do something. And he started his ministry called Acts of Charity. He had no funding to care for those widows. And I don't even know how he found Orphan's Lifeline, but he did. And we're not funding him, we're funding the widows and their children. And so he has support to do his ministry from another church here in the United States. And so he has gotten us into widow care, which is awesome, because we were not taking care of any widows. And so we're building these homes for $3,500 a month so that they have a place to live instead of the pig huts that they were often living in, that landowners were done with. They said, well, you can, they were just letting them live in places. And so Harrison is providing that. We are saving lives, one child at a time. And this is that baby that was set aside to die. And I met him at Oklahoma Christian two or 3 years ago, and he graduated now. He was in engineering. He's working out there in Oklahoma City. I always heard how he was a great leader in his youth group, and so I was thrilled to meet him. We don't adopt children to America, but this is one blessing from their early ministry. And I said to him when I met him, I said, you're 1 in a million, because this does not happen. And so many kids that we do adopt and bring to America from some of these countries, especially Russia, have so many struggles and challenges because of the way they were treated as babies, literally no care, put in a crib and just left there. They went to homes back then, around 1999. They said, do you have babies here? Yeah, that's what we have. But there was no crying. How do you have 50, 80 babies and not have any crying? It's when they don't ever get any attention when they cry. They quit crying. Eventually you quit crying. And that's got to have some emotional, lasting effect on a person's life. And so we are transforming lives. We're so thankful to God that He's blessed us with the ability to do this. And so that's the picture of Widnadine, 2013 and 2023. A picture of some of the kids there in Widnadine. So you might notice they're all in uniforms, school uniforms. I think all our kids are in school uniforms. It's the educational way outside of North America. I'm a Canadian. We don't use school uniforms in Canada either. But Gary, you wore school uniform, didn't you? Oh yeah. I saw a lot of school uniforms in Australia. So ways we can help, I just throw this up. You guys are doing awesome to help us as a church. But just to understand these numbers, and they're true numbers, they're real numbers. $10 US will feed a child for a month. $20 US will buy their clothes and personal items. $30 though to provide a safe and secure home. So I always heard that for $35 you could sponsor a child. That's what the number that I always had from World Vision, $35. I thought, well, what's this 100 all about? Well, it's all about these other costs. If you want to really take care of a child, it's $100 a month. And so $40 on average for a private education. And, that's just an average. Some countries it costs more, some countries it costs less. This is an average. And so we can, Orphan's Lifeline started with Orphan Sunday. And so back in early 2000s, they came to Livingston Church of Christ in Montana where I was preaching, and they did a presentation, a little different than this one, but a presentation, and said, you know, we can help these kids. And I was like, sign me up, you know. And I'm telling you, as a young minister, I don't think I was a compassionate person. I'm kind of type A. I'm driven hard, and I want to drive hard, and I want to reach the lost. And you know, you got troubles, get out of my way. There's somebody else I need to reach. I need to teach. And I'm just saying, I'm just speaking the truth. And somehow, over the years, God touched my heart to help me learn compassion and to understand the need of people that just don't, they weren't born in Canada, you know, or America, United States. They weren't born here, and they're suffering terribly where they are. And so we signed up to help, and they started sponsoring children when I started doing this for them 8 years ago. And we have around 250 children sponsored. If you sponsor a child, it means that it's a specific gift. And so you can write a check to Yellowstone Bible Camp anytime you want. I'll tell you the address to mail it to. But if you just send a check to Yellowstone Bible Camp, we can use it however we want. But if you send a check right now to Yellowstone Bible Camp for the Bridge Fund, then it has to go in the Bridge Fund. Okay? It has to. I'm the treasurer. That's where it's going. And if you send a check to Orphan's Lifeline, oh, I just want to send a check to Orphan's Lifeline, then Orphan's Lifeline can use that check however they want. But if you send a check sponsoring Widnadine, that $100 is going to Haiti. Okay? That's just the way it works. It's a specific gift. And so Widnadine doesn't get anything that the other kids at Faton's home don't get. I get her face. That's what I get, you know. And Faton is guaranteed that money because it's a specific gift for that home. And Widnadine's just the representative for me or for you. So that's how the sponsoring a child works. If you were touched, you know, I tell people there are just hundreds of great ministries in our brotherhood. And you guys are involved in lots, I'm sure. And you're involved in ministries here in Springfield. There's all kinds of great ministries. Walk for Water, or Healing Hands International, World Bible School. You just go on and on and on, the ministries that need funding. And they're all wonderful ministries. They're all great ministries. If your heart is touched to help those ministries, God bless you, help those ministries. But we're all touched in certain ways to help certain things. And if your heart's touched to help Orphan's Lifeline on an individual basis, there's lots of brochures on the back. And I've got lots of calendars. I'd love for you to take a 2023 calendar and enjoy the last few months of it. And so I really appreciate your time tonight. Really thank you for helping Orphan's Lifeline. I hope this fills you in a little bit more on what's going on. And please look at Facebook. I look at Facebook less and less, it seems. But look at Facebook. I look at it to see the kids now. But look at Facebook and you'll see the pictures of things that are happening and how we're changing children's lives for God. And God is doing it through us and through you. And we give you thanks for that. I'll turn it over to the closer.
Much for this day that you've blessed us with, for the beautiful weather outside. Lord, we thank you for your power, for your grace, for your glory that we see every day in the people that we interact with, our families, our friends. Just so much to be thankful for. Lord, we thank you for evenings like this where we can learn more about the work that is going on, not only in our country but also in the world. Lord, we thank you for the hearts and minds and abilities of those that you have put in this world across the country to show your love, show your grace, show their abilities that you bless them with to bring others to you, to learn more about your Son, to show the fruits of the Spirit. Lord, we ask continued blessings for this work that we all got to see this evening, for financial blessings, for time and energy from all the people involved, and we just thank you so much for it, and we ask that you can further work on our hearts and our minds to be mindful of these people around the world, and always be praying for them, and if we have the ability to support them as well. Lord, we ask that as we go this evening back to our homes, just keep us safe, be with us, and help us be more like your Son each and every day, and help us to love and forgive because you first loved and forgave us. Pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. You're dismissed.